'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh. So The Eternals has come out over the weekend and I got a chance to see it in IMAX, which was great because I haven't seen a film in IMAX in a long time. Instead of doing my normal review style, I kind of just want to sit and have a discussion of why this film seems so divisive with people. If you look at the Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't typically do, but it seems to be the talk of the town when it comes to this movie, you see a very divided number, right? It's right around 50, which is, some like it, some don't. And it's right down the middle, which is a thing that doesn't typically happen, especially with Marvel. It's been pretty overwhelmingly positive the entire time, even though there are some not so great Marvel films, such as your Iron Man 2s and your Thor 2s. But even the worst have some level of quality there. But this is the first one where it seems that, critics are saying, no, this isn't good. Just saying that is not entirely true, because there are a lot of critics saying there's a lot of great stuff to love here, and a lot of the fans the same way. Just to look at it in such a binary system isn't useful. It's not going to help us in realizing why this film is the way it is, or why the reception is the way it is. When looking at The Eternals, it is a property that not a lot of people knew going into it. Now, you can say the same thing about the Guardians of the Galaxy and Shang-Chi and stuff like that, which is true. These are relatively unknown pieces of Marvel history that are finally getting their chance on the big screen. But The Eternals is more obscure than even the two I mentioned previous. And now, of course, Guardians has become a household name. Shang-Chi, I believe, will get there soon. But The Eternals is one that, with its reception and half the people being like, I don't know about this, is a weird turning point in Marvel here, because it was an unknown franchise. And now it's gonna be something that can be quite big in the MCU, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna have the push for people to go see it, because like I said, it's unknown, and fans of Eternals probably are gonna go see it regardless. But that's not as big of a chunk of people as, say, if the Hulk got another movie. Hulk fans are gonna go see it, and there's Hulk fans. There's not many Eternals fans. So looking at that, people going in blind and just expecting something like Marvel has given them before, and they didn't get that. That is one of the reasons I believe that this is as shifted as it is. Trying to say that that's the only issue, again, isn't a healthy way to look at this conversation, because you're just basically pointing a finger and being like, oh, you didn't like it because it's different, or you only like it because it's different. And that's not necessarily true. Some people might. I'm not saying that everyone's like that. Saying that the one group of people that didn't like it only don't like it because they're so used to the Marvel formula is silly. You shouldn't like something just because it's different either, but that's part of it. It feels fresh and new and interesting to some, me included. I enjoyed the differences. I enjoyed the way it felt different, and that was a positive for me. It wasn't the only positive. The characters, I enjoyed a good amount of these characters. Yes, you can clearly point and be like, that one is just like this other character, so why does this character exist? Fair, I guess, but that's such a, dismissive point on, oh, they have the same superpowers, so they're the same character. Not really. Because if that was true, we would never have, characters that are similar to other characters. So, we would only ever have Superman, and then no other character could fly, be invulnerable, can't shoot laser beams out of their eyes. So, any interesting, Supergirl story, get that out of here. It's too close to Superman. You can't have that. I think that's a strange argument, that just because a character has similar powers, they're immediately too copycat. That's silly to me. The characters are another divisive point, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of characters in this movie. I liked a good number of them. People say there's too many of them that didn't need to be there. Again, that's a decent point. If you think a lot of them didn't get screen time that they should have, or too many of them just exist for one punchline or a weird B-plot that doesn't go anywhere, that's fine. I think that each of the characters do add something to it. There's a lot, but I can remember and I can name off why each character does things in this movie that'll lead to something else. Again, if it doesn't work for you, that's fine, but it does work for me. I don't want to say what those are, because I think it's too spoilery to say what each character's motivation is and their end goal and all that. I'm not gonna just spoil that here. Another point of divergence is the villains. And I agree that the villains aren't amazing in this. There's two, and one of them I do think is better than the other, for sure. Like, I don't love either of them, but I would say that. I do quite enjoy one of them. But the other one definitely, I wouldn't say didn't need to be here, because again, it does add into some of the themes and stuff. And like I said, it works for me. But I'm not gonna, like, defend all of the points why they're here and how they handled it towards the end anyways. Some other things, quick things, like some people say the CGI looks bad, some people say it looks really good. That's opinion at this point. Like, people complain about CGI in the best looking CGI movies, so you can't win everyone over there. The music is one I haven't heard people, like, discuss that much. Apparently people just either like it or are mid on it or something. No one seems to really hate it or seems to really love it. I think it's good, especially for Marvel music standards. It's like a good soundtrack and a good score. So I think that's a win-win there. I think the art direction is a point of divergence, and some people think it looks too bleak and it's colorless. And, well, yeah, it can, I suppose. I think it works for the tone a lot of the time. I think the way the characters, like, are and act and, like, their backstory and how they're supposed to be and all that, I do think it all works because it is all consistent. I do think that, like, all of them knowing their backstory and knowing, like, their character traits, like, they are consistent throughout the movie. So I don't really get why, like, tonal consistency is another issue people bring up. This is a very interesting film to discuss, like, why people diverge on film, and that's why film discussion is so much fun. Not everyone agrees on everything. If everyone agreed on what good movies were and what bad movies were, there'd be no film discussion. There would be no film reviewers. There would be nothing. It was just like, this is movie good, this is movie bad, and that's no fun. I like it when someone comes to me and is like, I don't agree with your opinion on that, because it opens the doors of, like, why not? Like, I had more fun watching people who didn't like this movie than people who did like this movie, watching their reviews anyway, because it opened more, like, discussion points of, like, where are the points that you were like, this is not good, this is bad, this isn't working, like, something like that, where I was just smooth sailing most of the way through. And to hear someone echo my opinions, just, it's smooth sailing all the way through, done, just, oh, that's my thoughts too. Like, that is fun, don't get me wrong, but it's more interesting on a diverging movie like this to hear, like, where other people's thoughts go. And that's where I'm at, basically, with this movie, talking about it in a way that, like, people need to, like, make up their mind and this and that. No, this thing is, like, it's fluid. You can change your opinion on things all the time. And after seeing it on the IMAX, which is the biggest screen possible, I do want to see this movie again, which, that's positive. And you probably will hear me talk about this movie again, unless I rewatch it and suddenly hate it. Then this film will come up again in discussion. So it's interesting. I do think that I can watch this movie again and I will get a different opinion on it. Like, I'm firm on my opinions on it the first time, but I do think it's a type of movie that on a second viewing I could sway wildly. I could love it more, or I could be like, actually, some of the points that people are making really do show on a second viewing. Or I could be perfect with where I placed it, where I thought it was. Yeah, it's interesting. Let me know if you've seen Eternals. Let me know what you thought. Definitely let me know what you think of this movie. I really am interested in your opinions on it, because even the people I've seen it with, like, I liked it more than some, and, like, some of my friends said, like, people they knew said it was, like, whatever. A lot of people saying it's just bad online, so there's a range of opinions. All opinions are valid, as long as you've seen the movie. Don't give me your opinion if you haven't seen the movie. Like, if you've only seen the trailers and you're like, well, that looks good, so it must be good, or that looks boring, so it must be boring, that is hogwash. I don't want to discuss that. I want to discuss your opinions on the actual movie. Like I said, let me know what you thought, and that'll about do it for me. As always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.